Alright, I just now see another place it's hitting. It's hitting right there, right on the front of this heavy. It's hitting right there. And that's going to have to be relieved to let this whole thing shift back. And I can do that because this is actually on a bit of an angle. It's tilted in at the bottom right here instead of hitting it flat, and it needs to hit all of it. You can see there's a shiny spot right here, a dent, where I was tapping it a while ago with the mallet. There's a dent right there. So I need to extend that vertically and relieve down in here and leave this and stop it right at or below that. Alright, I'm going to make sure this is all the way down and seated, and keep pressure on it, and then I'm going to tap it backwards. That's got to go another almost about a 30-second, because down here on the bottom where this slanted cut is, there's a gap. So this whole thing's got to shift that way about a 30-second before I'm finished with it. And that'll tighten up everything. I think it's about time to smoke this. I see where I'm hitting it really hard on the front of those ears, and that's fine. That's good. But this whole thing's got to shift back. It's hitting really hard back here in the very back, right in the tail end of that tang. Now I can fix that. Now it says it's hitting right there, but I'm not going to take that out yet because I don't know that I want it to go any further down. I'm going to leave that alone. Where I was talking about it needs to get closer is right down here where this bottom of this thing is angled, and the wood is angled up into it, and it makes it like a trap, and it holds it really tight, and that's what's starting to touch. This other side is still maybe 25 thousandths away. This side is starting to touch. It's starting to sit there on its own when I turn loose of it. It's getting to where it's starting to hug it. You have to keep this bottom centered this way, If you don't have that thing centered and you hit this, then you get a set of marks that are false. Those marks have to be in the right place. You get false information, you cut out the wrong place, well, it doesn't work real. Kind of like watching MSNBC, you know, you get the wrong information. See those two little stains right there? That's that bottom angle I was telling you about. I'm going to leave this stain here because I think the height of it is, I think that's correct. Unless I see something that tells me otherwise, I'm going to leave that alone. Those two little stains I just showed you are coming from that and that. And they're on an angle. See, the wood slants back in there and it locks it in. It's the direction of it and the pressure of it that is stronger than just a straight up and down, just a butt joint. That's the reason it's made that way, is for strength. It's starting to touch a little bit. See that little black smudge rubbed off right there? It's starting to touch a little bit on that barrel release. See this barrel release right here, when you move that, that spins. And it's starting to barely touch a little bit on that barrel release. But this lug here is the main thing. It's got to hit really hard on that lug. It's getting there. It sits there by itself. For me, that's a day's work, and I'm okay with it. Now I'm going to check and make sure this thing's sitting in the middle. I'm going to go from the edge of my wood to the edge of the receiver, top and bottom, and see how close to the middle it is. On that side, it's 0.8. I'm sorry, 0.08. This side is 0.083. That's 0.083. And that side is 0.08. So it is really close to sitting vertical and equidistant. I'm okay with that. I really am. And it looks good. There's no gaps down that top tang. That is the major thing. Get that right and everything else will follow. Woohoo! Alright, I've got this receiver, the main part of it, fitting pretty good. It hits everywhere it needs to hit. Now I'm going to put me some guidelines over here on the sides where there's an inset between the blank and the edge of the receiver, and I'm going to put some guidelines that are equidistant so I can keep this thing correctly spaced at a glance. It needs to be at a glance. If you get this first initial cut correct, the rest of the gun follows suit pretty good. If you don't get this correct, you just fight with it the whole rest of the time. So those are my guidelines. They're not necessarily the edge, but they give me a visual. They actually are necessarily the edge, but they give me a visual to let me know that this thing is balanced this way. Now I'm going to start cutting in the bottom tang. Now some of these things are tight enough to just sit there by themselves. This one's not. If I turn loose of it, this one will fall out. It almost looks at a glance like this center line is not in the middle of this milled slot. It looks like this side is wider. It may be that this metal is narrower here than here. I don't know, or it could just be an optical conclusion. But I've got to get some lines on my trigger tang there. I've got to cut it out. But this is how it goes together with no wood involved. It's got 2 points of contact. Obviously where it goes into the receiver on the bottom side, right here. And also the safety. This is the lower half of the safety that blocks the triggers. And the upper half of the safety is the switch up here, the safety button. And this little round goes into that little hollow place right there. There's a little hollow space in the bottom of that safety button. So you put that in and line that up and push it down. So what I'm going to do is mark the back edge of the metal. That is this edge of the wood.